Obviously excited for this week. Proud of the guys with the win last week. Um, things we want to do this week to improve upon. Excited for the game. Excited for the chance to play against Michigan State. On a personal note, excited to coach against Coach Barnett. He's one of the good men in football for many years. Kind of young guys like me look up to. Spent several years there. Was at Florida State. I think what he's done for his alma mater, he was an All-American there, he's a great player there. What he's done for his alma mater, stepping in and filling the void, I have a lot of respect for. So a lot of respect for this football team. I know, Coach D'Antonio's back with them. They're really physical up front. In the upper half of the Big Ten in rush defense. So it's a challenging matchup for us with the way that we play. So it should be a heck of a game.
Speaking of that, their defensive front, how do you think the offensive line played against the
I thought they played well. Yeah, it says 3 sacks, but 2 of those are on the quarterback. And I say on the quarterback, I'm not mad at them about it. Like we play, right? But they're not getting run by. And even the one on the first drive was just a delayed. They took the end off. They delayed. I mean that was none of those were really a guy getting beat. So I thought the offensive line hung in there and played well. I love the way Justin plays, the energy he plays with. I love the way Henry came in the game ready to go. So I thought the offensive line, thought Teddy played well. I thought the offensive line battled and was a bright spot for us in that game.
Coach, do you have an update on Omar Brown?
Yeah, Omar's in the protocol, so we'll wait and see what happens.
Coach, you have to go through, you guys have never been on this long of a win streak before, and I know you talked about you have to remind them, because there's going to be a lot of good things to talk about in this team this week. How do you keep those guys level-headed?
Yeah, I think our guys watched the tape, and I think defensively they knew it wasn't really nearly as good as we thought it was. A lot of things that could have happened didn't happen, but we weren't at our depths in the secondary, even the touchdown. To give up a touchdown on 3rd and 15. Scrambles have really hurt us this year. If there's one thing on defense we have to improve upon, it's our scramble defense, and quarterbacks that scramble have really hurt us and hurt us again in that game. We got some takeaways, which is great. Proud of the guys, but we didn't tackle at the level we've tackled before. And with the back we're going to face this week, EJ had him last year at UConn. Carter, you better tackle. This guy's big and physical and downhill. So we didn't play nearly as well on defense as the stats denoted. Sometimes, and I think in fairness to me, like when we've lost, I said, hey, we've done this better than I thought. This was better than I thought. We came in, I think the guys, all of us were kind of like, hey, really wasn't the level of defense we thought we were playing. So I think there's that. What am I answering your full question?
Well, it just as a whole mentally with these guys.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of positivity around it, and that's something that these guys truly haven't experienced.
Yeah, but I want them to have positivity, right? I think when you come to a place like Nebraska has won so much that in history that if it doesn't look like the '97 team, all I hear people tell me is, well, it was ugly. I'm like, okay, 31-14 wasn't too ugly to me, right? So, everyone, I understand it. I'm not complaining about it. When I say these things, I'm saying it for the players. Right? Everyone has to have a take. I don't know how many people follow you if everything you get up there and say on your things are super positive, right? So you have to find something to talk about. But I thought we did a lot of positive things in the game. I thought we did a lot of negative things in the game. So it's just the truth's always there, right? Let the tape be the truth, right? So we have the same process on Sundays. Come in and watch the tape. It's almost on the vice versa on offense. Like I told the offensive guy, I told the staff, I said, I went after the offensive staff up because I want 24 points, and I want 40% on 3rd down, and I want to win the turnover battle. And we scored 24 points on offense. We were 43% on 3rd down, but we lost the turnover battle. So we're last in the nation right now in fumbles. We're last in the nation in fumbles lost. That falls squarely on my head. But a lot of the other things, with the amount of guys down and, to go out there and score 24 points against Purdue, that's not easy to do. Just Purdue can play defense. That number 5, man, something else. Number 4, something else. But we knew it going in, right? So to have young receivers go out there and make those plays, I think Jalen Lloyd came to our house on Thursday night. I think he told Julie he was going to score 2 touchdowns. He was a confident little guy and went out there. And I say little guy in a fun way. He's a grown man, but he went out there and he made plays. So it's just the truth somewhere in the middle, right? It's not I hate it. The special teams, did they play well or did they not play well? Well, I don't know. We put the ball on the ground twice, but we also scored a touchdown and nailed a 55-yarder. So it's not good and bad. It's just somewhere down the middle. And we have to improve, right? We have to improve. We have to improve because, these games are going to come down to the fourth quarter, and there's things that we can do better.
Being 5-3 and being -9 in turnovers is a testament to what?
Well, on offense, because no one says much good about the offense right now, right? We're still first in the Big Ten in rushing.
Okay.
We're still first in the Big Ten in rushing yards per game. We're still first in the Big Ten in 10-plus yards rushing, 10-yard rushes, which I think is a pretty cool little stat I try to keep. So that, if you're normally doing that, people don't say how the O-line play, right? Like, they kind of know, well, if you're first in rushing and you run the ball and people know you're running it and you're still first in rushing, you're probably pretty decent at something, right? I asked the offense to get to in the 40s on third down. They did it, right? So, I think there's kind of those things. So anytime you're first in rush offense and you're first in rush defense, what people say ugly, I think is tough. Does that make sense? Whereas people might say, hey, you guys are winning ugly. And trust me, I do know it's ugly. So I'm not saying that. I'm as upset as anything. But the flip side of it is I just think we're kind of a tough team. I kind of like our guys. I think we're kind of a gritty, tough team. And I kind of like running the ball and stopping the run. I kind of think that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? So I think it's a testament to that. I think it's a testament to winning the time of possession. I think it's a testament to playing well on special teams and you block a punt one week, you block a field goal one week, you score on special teams one week. I think it's kind of a testament to that. And what's unique, too, is that we're third, and this could be wrong, so if it's wrong, don't say I lied, just say I was wrong. But I believe we're third in yards per completion in the Big Ten at 12.6, which would usually say, hey, you know what, you should probably throw it a little bit more. And you know what? You're up 21-0 in that game, and we're controlling the game. I'm kind of like, hey, let's just put these guys away. Got too late. We got to some of the inside zone slices that won the game at the end. Great job by Donnie saying, hey, I got the play. And flipped it to the field. Sack called it, and Emmett split it. Probably, if I could go back, we could have got to that earlier. But I think it's just a testament to, hey, we're a physical, tough team. You got to want to play us. But we will always have trouble with other tough teams. Michigan State's a tough team. So that's why I think this will be a battle. And I think it'll be a real battle.
How did Harburg come in on Sunday feeling after some of the hits that he took?
I don't think he felt real good. Yeah, I mean, I love the guy. I love the competitor, right? I kind of said to him what I said to you guys. I didn't want to say anything in here that I wouldn't say to them. I said, well, if the one was your own dang fault, right? Don't, and he said, Coach, that guy could have come off the sideline for all I know. I didn't see him. So, I love the competitor. I think he's caught in the middle right now, and I have to do a better job as a head coach sometimes of, hey, I don't want to slide, but he kind of slows down right before contact. The week before, I thought I was hesitant. This week, I think he's just not quite sure what to do, and he hasn't played a super ton. So we're going to work on that this week because both fumbles, the play was dead. He knew he was done. We just probably needs to get down on those plays, and not because he's a sheep, but he just probably needs to skip a rock and get an extra yard, and we'll just play 2nd and 9. So we're trying to make sure as a staff, we took a lot of time this morning as a coaching staff to go back through ourselves and, hey, what are the things that are happening and how do we fix those, right? But he's a little bit beat up. But you know what? He's the quarterback in Nebraska.
I know you've been in this league only, I don't know, 6 weeks or whatever it is, but you've watched probably all of the teams. The defenses in this league are just way ahead of the offenses statistically. Why do you think that is?
I don't think people understand or value. Maybe we do here, but across the country, the impact of the weather in some of these games and the winds. Those winds, like the ball Tommy picked off. Tommy's gonna want to fight me, but he threw that into the wind. Now they got behind us a couple of times. They threw another ball. They got behind Giff and cover two. Giff's the middle run through the two cover two safeties jumped 12-yard route. Same thing happened against Michigan, right? On a nice clear 98-degree day, and my man throws a touchdown we catch on our helmet. Same thing happened. Giff makes a heck of a play to bat the ball away, right? But he's also throwing that those winds are severe. There's times where we're out there and we're like the option pass. We would have preferred to have called that that we hit to Jalen. We were going to call that in the first quarter, you know what I'm saying? Just the wind kind of felt swirling and all those different things. And so now we ended up throwing that ball with the wind, and I almost looked like maybe it was going to be overthrown it once, but Jalen's so fast. So I think the wind and the elements is a real factor. I think I heard Alvano say it, he kicked a 55-yarder in those elements. It wasn't, 80 degrees in Jacksonville, Florida. So I think those are some of the things that are there. And then, other than that, I don't know. I mean, you see a change in the league now going to some teams that are – you see some, going to some teams that are more spread, right? So, Purdue obviously was a spread offense. Wisconsin runs the ball a ton. They have some, a lot more 11 personnel. So, other than that, I don't know. But I do think the weather's a real factor.
It's so different from the Big 12, which you were in, though.
Yeah, but I mean, we were playing. I mean, there was never a day. There was never a game where the elements ever affected us other than the heat. Like you'd be crazy to be in the Big 12 and not be a tempo team. We played a game at Baylor. Like it was an 11 o'clock game where they had to remove the cheerleaders from the field because it was unsafe. Our D-line coach's shoes melted into the turf. Like, yeah, okay, so go tempo, run 100 plays, and play against the other team's threes. Is that going to work here? You know what I mean? So it's completely different. I used to beg Mac Rhodes. I'd say, hey, do me a favor. Like these non-conference games, you need another FBS opponent. Go get someone from the north and make them come down and play in Texas. So it's just that. Like when we start playing teams from warmer climates, I'm not gonna say I'm hoping they come here in November. You know what I mean? So there's just different things, different places, right? And so that's why NFL teams, I think, love Big Ten. From what the guys I talk to, love Big Ten O-linemen, because they know that hey, they can handle these elements. They can play in the cold. We've played in 43 degrees. We've played in 32 degrees already. I mean, it's a challenge.
Will Marquise Buford be available? And with the 4 games left to go, how much flexibility do you have with some of these younger linemen now, like Sledge and Gatula, and other guys that have a red shirt still?
Yeah, Sledge and Gatula would be up for these next 4 games if needed. If they're needed on the PAT field goal team, or if we have an injury, so they're ready to go. So that was kind of the plan all along. Keys tried to practice a little bit last week. It was sore each day afterwards. So I don't know if he'll be ready to go or not this week. We'll have to wait and see. Probably be a game time decision. In terms of hey, he wants to go, but is he ready to go? But we'll practice him, and really I wouldn't know anything until we'll have Tuesday practice. Can he practice on Wednesday? And then after he goes Tuesday, Wednesday, how does he feel on Thursday? Because the last thing I want to do is in any way do anything to hurt Marquise Buford. I mean, he's not only a talented player, but a great teammate. And it's really interesting to see him because he's been kind of like in the mix but off to the side. And so his perspective, I think, on football is really cool right now because he kind of sees it sometimes as a coach and sometimes as a player. So I'd love to get him back out there, but I don't know that he'll be ready this week. I'm not sure.
What does Quentin Newsom mean to this team, Matt? He was in the Big Ten special teams player.
Yeah, very fired up for Quentin, and I should have said that in my opening remarks. They told me that earlier. If he doesn't jump on that fumble, the game might be different on the punt return, right? But the fact that you have a senior who's out there playing on the punt return team, I think that who speaks a lot to him. He's an NFL player, and he's out there playing on the punt return team. That we can make you do that, but we're not making him do that. He's helping the team, so I appreciate that. I appreciate what he did on the field goal block. I mean, he's exactly where he's supposed to be. But then he also brings his own unique talents. Like Willie Mays caught that ball right over the top of his head. So excellent play. So he's a great competitor, fiery. I think the guys respect him. We can't play defense the way we're playing without guys who can play man. And him and Tommy and Malcolm and Giff and Omar and Phelan, they're doing a great job.
How do you approach things right now with Jeff Sims? Obviously, there's scenarios where you could need him. What is his confidence like when he's only played a couple times since week 2 and hasn't had the outcomes that he would like?
I don't know what I wouldn't want to speak for him. I just know that Jeff puts as much time in as anybody else. Tough scenario to get put into. Like, hey, go in there. Hey, all of a sudden you're going there to play, and it's not like you're going in there to toss the ball around, which is usually as the quarterback what you're going to do. We put him in there and we ran him. So I have a lot of confidence in Jeff Sims. I think Jeff is a competitor. You're the starting quarterback. You get banged up, someone else goes in, then they become the quarterback. You watch when we do I think I said this last week. I'll say it one more time. You do those videos that we do, and it's one thing to see a guy celebrate, like Heinrich scores, you see him celebrating with, what a good teammate. I watched and saw when he threw the ball to Malachi on the sidelines. They showed the cinematic view, and as he dropped back, you could see Jeff putting his hands up like touchdown as it happened because Jeff cares about the team. And So I have nothing but the greatest of respect and admiration for Jeff, and he's ready. When his number is called, he's ready. And Chubba is back to form, and I'd have no problem putting Chubba in the game. So we have three really good quarterbacks. To me, the fumbles are something that falls on me.
How have you seen Emmett Johnson kind of grow into his role over the last couple of weeks, and what do you expect from him?
Yeah, I think Emmett's the guy that can do the most things, and I don't want to say that bad about anyone else. I just think he's really versatile, right? He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run between the tackles. He can run outside the tackles. He can run in 4 minutes because he's going to have excellent ball security. But he also picks up the blitzes, and so on the one drive where it was 14 plays, 12 plays, whatever it was, that was a couple different third down conversions. That's a third down conversion to Jaden Doss, where they blitz the linebacker and Emmett steps up and strikes him and blocks him. So I think Emmett just does whatever's needed, and I was happy that he had the long run because, it's one thing to be, hey, I can do everything, I'm sturdy. But when you realize, hey, I can make people miss and go too, then it changes everything. So that's a talented running back room we have. We need to get more out of the room, and that's not them, that's us as coaches utilizing those guys. Like Fleece came in and was like a shot in the arm, and then, we just didn't get back to it enough. Now obviously, if you punch a guy and it costs us 15 yards, that's a problem. And Josh knows that. But I think we just have a lot of good players in that room, and Emmett just being really versatile to help us in a lot of different ways.
Going back to your time at Temple and Baylor, your first year here, you've already exceeded, the win totals in the first year at those places, but now you're kind of hovering around the success and the wins that you have in the second years at those programs. Is there any similarities between your second years at Temple and Baylor compared to your first year here in terms of just the teams?
I think the difference there those years was we were very up and down week to week, right? Like, we'd win a game. Like Baylor the second year, we'd win a game, we'd lose a game. Like, we lost 66-33 to Oklahoma, and Lincoln Riley, the good man that he is, basically took a knee to not make it 70. Kyler Murray is the greatest player I've ever seen on the football field. We hung in there for a long time, and they just took off. And then we came back the next week, and we upset Kansas State. And then we go to West Virginia, we get our brains beat in on a Thursday night, and we come back the next week and we upset Oklahoma State. So it was just, we were very much like this, like trying to learn how to win. Whereas these guys, and at Temple, I can't remember the second year, you have to forgive me. I think we had like a run, I think we got off to a really good start. I think we were 4-2, and then we just fought to get wins down the stretch. I think the difference with these guys is they understand the process, and they're much more process oriented, right? Like these guys, like they do exactly what we ask. They are bought into what we're asking them to do. And so my challenge to them has been for the older guys, it usually takes longer for the older guys because it's like, well, we used to do this, now we do this. And it's not that they don't even want to do it, it's just hard for them. Whereas like Jalen Lloyd and Emmett Johnson, when they score, we do this little X factor across the goal line we believe in. Like, Christian McCaffrey, I look at it like Christian McCaffrey does it, so you guys should do it. And you see when Heinrich scores, he does it. You see when Jalen scores, he does it. You see when Emmett scores. So the young players, it's just kind of all they know, and this is the process. The older guys have to kind of learn a new process, and my challenge to them has been, man, double down on it one more time here and see what you can do. See if you can go get another win this week. See if you can go 1-0. Truly be 1-0 mindset, right? Truly, like, don't say, yeah, we'd love to get X, Y, and Z done, but we're going to try to go 1-0 this week. Just truly buy into that process of, man, what do we have to do this week to play well? So they're far ahead of where we were in our second years at Temple and Baylor.
What is the X factor you're talking about?
Yeah, we just, we hold the ball. They say 4 points of ball security. We talk about a fifth point, when anytime you're in traffic or in 4 minute, like, the Minnesota fumble, the Illinois fumbles, those all should have been a fifth point of ball security. So we call it the X factor because you're making an X, right? And so like anytime you're going to hit me, and like I always want the ball in the opposite arm so I can stiff arm you and protect myself. Anytime that my arm's here, I go to X factor. So like Heinrich, the guy was to his arm, he should have just gone X factor and that wouldn't have happened, right? So it's all technical. It's not that the guys don't care. It's all technical. A lot of our fumbles have come from snaps. It's all technical. It's seeing the ball in. It's making a good snap. But yeah, so it's just what we do is we always say, like, hey, when you break a long run, right? When you break a long run, like if there's any chance they have to knock the ball, they're running from behind. It's always the guy you don't see. So we just X factor going across the goal line, and it's just a statement that, hey, anytime we're inside the 5, we're going to do that. So. We still have guys, some of our older guys, they still want to reach the ball across the goal line. They still want to do those things. Our young guys know that that's not what we do. And so, I mean, my wife told me I'm a jerk because I yelled at Quentin and Tommy for high five, and she's like, "Oh, they're having fun." And I'm, just like, there was not too long ago, you guys were asking me about all the close losses, like, oh, the close losses. The close losses come from reacting instead of having a process. Like, this is what we do. We do this, and just do it even when you think it's stupid. So when I see Emmett and Jalen do that, I'm proud because it's like, hey, they're just doing what we do, not making a decision. Should I do it now? Should I not do it then? And to me, like, we've gone from talking about close losses to ugly 31-14 wins. Now this could be a close loss this week, so we have to fight the fight of the process, and that's and the process sounds so stupid, but it's just really just doing what we're supposed to do.
Hey, you've been in this facility now for, what, 2 months? What do you like most about the new building?
Well, I haven't been in it. I'm still in my old office and all those things, so I'm excited to get into those new things. I just love the commitment to recovery for our guys. You could tell right now, like you could probably tell I haven't slept much since the game on Saturday. So I love, like, on Friday I can go in and when the players aren't there, I can go in and use a float tank, right, and reset my whatever it is, sympathetic or parasympathetic, whatever. I can get 4 hours of sleep in 60 minutes. I love the fact that our players can go in there and they can use infrared to reduce inflammation. I love the fact that there's traction tables. I love the fact that there's resistance pools and cold tubs and hot tubs and dry saunas and infrared saunas and dry flow tanks and wet flow tanks, and all those things I think makes their bodies better. A lot of places have them, but they don't have the commitment from the players. Our players are amazing, and Mitch Cholowinski and his staff do a great job of not enforcing but teaching, and I think it helps our guys' brains. It helps them handle, like you talk about the stress of the season, having these recovery modalities. So whereas, when I got here, people would talk to me, all they wanted to do was talk about the building was the recruiting path and recruiting this and recruiting that. Nothing recruits better than players who are happy. And so I love the fact that our players are in there. I only go into the locker room, on game day. The locker room's pretty cool. I just love the other stuff.
So you're still, like, kind of, your office is over here.
Oh, yeah.
When does that switch over?
Whenever they get the building done, I think we made a change. It just philosophically, kind of like as we were kind of going down the spring, I was like, just get the players in. To me, the program is all about the players. Like I don't care what office. I could work out of a Starbucks. Like, to me, it's like just get the players in. So we, all the fine people that worked on it did all that to get that ready. So I think later this semester, and I wouldn't really, even if it was ready right now, I wouldn't move my office in the middle of the season. We moved the meeting room. So our guys, they practice over there. They kind of come up the tunnel walk and they come in here and they do their meetings over where they used to. And Kristen, our performance nutritionist, does an amazing job of feeding them all these different places. So it's worked really well.
Hey, from your experience, when you face a team like Michigan State, they've lost 6 in a row. When you've seen those teams in the past that have gone through some struggles, are there any hidden dangers that you may not see when you look at their record that exist in these kind of games?
Yeah, if you, again, it's going to sound like I hate when I sound like a coach, but it's like it's just if you don't do the process, it's just expectation, right? If you saw me and I gave you $100, you'd be like, wow, thanks, Matt. And you saw me the next day, I gave you $100 again, you'd be like, geez. And then the third day, you'd be looking for me and I gave you $100. And then all of a sudden, a week later, I walked by and didn't give you $100. You'd kind of be like, well, what's the deal? And then if I didn't give you $100 the next day, you'd probably be upset with me, right? Because you start to expect things. So if we expect that the game's going to go one way and it doesn't, then sometimes we're caught, right? So we expect every game to come down to the very last play, and we've got to throw a Hail Mary, kick the game-winning field goal, or make a 4th and 1 stop to win the game. And that way, nothing ever bothers you. Hey, we're expected to be down 21-0 going into the fourth quarter, and we're going to go rally, and we're going to win 22-21. Like, it's just what do you expect? And so when you look at people's records, if they have a great record, sometimes you're like, oh, geez, this is going to be really hard. You expect it, and then all of a sudden, sometimes you miss an opportunity to go play well. When you look at people's records, you say, oh, they haven't won. You expect, the opposite. Like, I knew Northwestern was a good team. People are saying, like, well, who have they really? Northwestern's a good team. Just look at the football. So that's the danger. But also, like think about the men in that Michigan State locker room and what they've accomplished over the years. Think about the last time we went there, right? We had it almost won, and we lost it in the fourth quarter, right on special teams play. So think about, like I said, think about Coach Barnett, All-American there, spends 15 years of service, steps in as the interim head coach. Maybe he'll get the head coaching job, I don't know, but his last game as head coach, this is their last game at home. How would you coach? You know what I'm saying? How would you play if you're senior, if you're those seniors and you didn't go in the portal and you decided to stay and fight for your team? Like I said the same thing about Northwestern. You know, I said, hey, look at what Northwestern, how they banded together with an interim coach, and that, you know, they battled us to the very end, and then they went out the next week after that kind of tough loss to us. They went out the next week and they beat Maryland, who's 5-2. So it's expectations, and I know those men on that staff. I know Coach D'Antonio. I know the guys that are there. I watch the way they play, and you know, we would be nuts to not expect to have to win the game on the last play of the game.
One or two more?
In terms of recruiting class sizes, would you see this 2024 class getting up to 30 guys, and 25 to 30, is that a good target range for your classes generally?
I think every year is different. You know, I think, like I said, this is a unique time still with the COVID year still out there and different challenges. So I think, you know, I personally have always believed like your first two classes are so important to set the foundation for what you're going to do. I think when you look at the guys that came in last year, as I said after the game, you know, when I called the freshmen up to eat, I was like, geez, like we got some good players. And we got a bunch of other guys that people haven't even seen yet, you know, so just didn't want to pass up on some of these guys that I think are good players. So, you know, we have a good staff led by Sean Padden and Vince Ginta, and those guys, they manage it. So I just think it's different each year, and we'll have to do our best to manage just kind of what the following classes look like.
Emmett scored that touchdown late. That's what you want, right? You want the offense to finish like that. Does the offensive line need something like that right now, or is it confident enough?
I think it's confident enough. I think, geez, what week was it, man? I think the Illinois week was the week where they just decided to like block out the noise and just go play. Don't worry about some of the things we've talked about in here. Don't worry about how someone else graded them. Don't worry about what people are saying. And you're facing a D line, with 4 and 88, and the guys that they had at Illinois, and we got up in that game. So I think we needed that. And then, in that game against Illinois, twice we had the ball down there inside the red zone. We could have scored that touchdown to put the game away, and we had the fumbling issues there, right, and penalties. So to have that happen again this game, I literally showed them the Illinois fourth quarter of the team, and I showed them our fourth quarter. We haven't improved it until we hit that play, right? And so to hit that long run, we talk about a fourth quarter shutout a lot. That's one of the goals of our program, and that includes 75 yards rushing in the fourth quarter. I don't have it in front of me. I think Sean said it at the time. It was 76 yards rushing in the fourth quarter that we had. That's a big deal, right? That's a really big deal. So, that's kind of like, to me, running the football. Like you stick with it, you stick with it, you stick with it. We've been lucky with some explosive runs, but you stick with it, and then hoping in the fourth quarter that you're kind of in better shape, or that your work that you put in, the way we practice. The way we practice kicks in the fourth quarter, and the way we practice kicks in November. And so that's kind of the mindset. So I was happy with those linemen. Ben Scott battled through last week with that knee, and he was like, hey, I'm playing. And he, we went full pads on Tuesday, went full pads on Wednesday. He went out there and then played well in the ball game. So happy for that.
And we're going to start to Ed tomorrow. What do you think about the focus and improvement that you've seen on special teams this year?
I think Ed does a phenomenal job. For many years, I didn't have just a special teams coordinator. I had a guy who did that and coached something else, and Ed did it for me. But I just think his ability all day long to talk to players one-on-one and to make sure guys understand what to do. And even last week, the impact of the offensive line injuries, so now Dylan Parrott goes out to be on the field goal team for the first time ever, right? And it's his first reps playing. And, to know that, hey, I'm going to get live reps on Tuesday helped him, right? So I think Ed does a phenomenal job of doing those things and managing different players. The one area that has to improve for us is our punt returns. Coach Darlington came to my office yesterday and said it was a disgrace, and he was right. And he said it in a respectful way, like, hey, Matt, let's talk about this. And obviously losing Billy, and then, AB, had the fumble, but we're letting the ball hit a lot, and balls are going down to the one. So there's areas to improve, but I think Ed does such a great job of letting the guys play fast while still trying to find wrinkles. So, hey, we come up with a pump block. Hey, we put Elijah Judy in on field goal block. Hey, we create this. But he doesn't overdo it. Well, some special teams coordinators, man, it's so much scheme that the guys can't play fast. They still have to be able to do offense and defense, and I think Ed's special in that regard. I'm very lucky that he's stuck with me this long. All right, guys, good to see everybody.